Righties.
Hello boys and girls. Today we've got a new book all the way from the United Kingdom and it's called Mr. Funny.
Wow, it's a special book.
Do you know anyone who's funny?
Well, I met someone who was funny once. He's half Australian and half Chinese.
Oh, you're an idiot. This is an opportunity to have a go at the reader. Okay, boys and girls, can you please take a seat?
Yes.
And you can listen to this wonderful story whilst you're eating a pizza. Now, where did you get this pizza from?
I made it myself.
Ah, that's really good.
I learned how to make pizza.
You have to come in closer. Okay. That's really good. Okay, you ready? Mr. Funny.
Wow.
Okay, now. Here we go. Mr. Funny lived in a teapot. It had 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. And it suited Mr. Funny very nicely. See, there's the teapot.
Wow.
One day, Mr. Funny was having lunch. He wasn't very hungry, so he only had a daisy sandwich and a glass of toast. Delicious, he murmured to himself as he finished his funny lunch.
He eats flowers.
Yes.
Wow, that's funny.
You're a good student, aren't you? You're listening very carefully.
Wow, he's driving in a shoe.
Yeah, after lunch, Mr. Funny decided to go for a drive in his car. Mr. Funny's car was a shoe. Yes, very good, Shane.
It's got eggs on the hubcaps.
Have you ever seen a car that looks like a shoe?
No.
It looks very
funny.
Funny. Very good, Shane.
It's a very funny car.
As he drove along, everybody who saw him laughed to see such a funny sight. He passed a worm at the side of the road. The worm thought Mr. Funny in his funny car was the funniest thing he had ever seen. He nearly laughed himself in 2.
Wow, he was that funny.
He was that funny. He passed a pig in a field, and the pig thought Mr. Funny in his funny car was the funniest thing that she had ever seen. She nearly laughed her tail off.
Oh, I can see it's nearly coming off.
Oh, you're really observant, Shane.
And it's a girl pig.
How do you know it's a girl pig?
Because it said she laughed her
Oh,
tail off.
very good. You're listening very carefully. Even the flowers he passed through thought that Mr. Funny was the funniest thing that they had ever seen. They nearly laughed themselves out of the ground.
Did Mr. Funny eat them?
Maybe later on. Very good question, Shane. You're full of good observations and questions today.
Because he eats flowers.
Eventually, Mr. Funny came to some crossroads. He didn't know which way to go, so he looked at the signpost. One of the signs said, "To the zoo." That will be fun, thought Mr. Funny to himself. So he drove his shoe towards the zoo. Wow, isn't that amazing?
So many ways to go.
See? The zoo.
So many paths.
Yes, very good, Shane. You're watching very carefully here. When he arrived at the gate of the zoo, he stopped. It was closed. "I'm sorry," said the zookeeper. "We've had to close the zoo because all the animals had colds. They're all feeling very sorry for themselves." "Oh dear," said Mr. Funny. And then he thought, "Perhaps I can help to cheer them up," he said. "Well," said the zookeeper, "it's worth a try." And he opened the gates. Mr. Funny drove into the zoo in his shoe. The first thing he saw was an elephant. It was true. The elephant was feeling very sorry for himself, very sorry indeed. Our door is open.
Wow, the next door neighbours can hear this wonderful story as well. Hopefully the kids will be over.
They'll think, what wackos? What's wrong with
the
that
story?
Mr. Funny stood and looked at the sad-looking elephant. And the sad-looking elephant stood and looked at Mr. Funny. Oh dear!
Wow.
Then, do you know what Mr. Funny did?
He pulled a face, that's what he did.
Yes, he pulled a face. Mr. Funny, as you'd imagine, is very good at pulling faces. The elephant giggled. She never seen anything so funny. Mr. Funny pulled another funny face. The elephant burst out laughing.
Well, he's not depressed anymore.
No, that's right, Shane.
He's happy, look.
Yes, that's the solution for the world.
To laugh it away.
That's right. See, this is the first thing that you must learn as a child, is how to laugh. The elephant laughed and laughed and laughed. She laughed so hard, she nearly laughed her trunk off, and she felt a lot better. Mr. Funny went over to the lion house. There was a lion feeling extraordinarily sorry for himself. Mr. Funny stood and looked at the sad-looking lion, and the sad-looking lion stood and looked at Mr. Funny. Oh dear! Then Mr. Funny pulled the funniest looking face that probably ever been pulled anywhere, ever. Now you've heard a lion
That must
roar.
have been a pretty funny face.
It was a very funny face. Very good, Shane. Now we've heard a lion roar before, haven't you? Well, this lion roared too, with laughter. He laughed so hard he nearly laughed his whiskers to pieces.
Wow. Look, he needs to shave.
Yeah, that's his whiskers. That's where his whiskers were. Very good question, Shane. Very observant of you. Mr. Funny went around to see all the other animals in the zoo. Oh dear, what a miserable looking lot for all of them. Mr. Funny pulled funnier and funnier faces. The big brown bear giggled, then burst out laughing.
Wow, the bear. Look how big he is.
Yeah, he's a big bear, isn't he? Then the giraffe laughed so hard she nearly laughed her neck into a knot. And the hippopotamus nearly laughed himself out of his skin. And the penguins nearly laughed their flippers floppy. And the leopard, well, you really should have seen him. He laughed so
He laughed his spots off.
Yes, very good, Shane. He laughed so hard he nearly laughed his spots off. Very good. Wow, you could write this book yourself. And the last bit was, what a pandemonium.
Wow, that's a big word for children.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Funny giggled the zookeeper. Oh, Mr. Funny giggled the zookeeper, who had started laughing as well. Oh, Mr. Funny, thank you very much indeed for coming to cheer us all up. Oh, it was nothing, replied Mr. Funny modestly, and drove off in his shoe.
Wow, what a great book.
And later, Mr. Funny arrived home. He chuckled to himself. Well, he said, that's the end of another funny day. And he parked his shoe and went inside the teapot. And because he was feeling thirsty, he made himself a nice hot cup of cake.
He drinks cake.
Yes.
Now that is funny.
Now, did you enjoy that, Shane?
Yes. I learned a lot. And it was funny too.